That's it. Settle down onto your backs when you're ready. And you can lie. I mean, I was thinking we're going to be taking our arms out to the side. So I was thinking actually perhaps it's best to lie with our knees bent and our feet standing on the floor. So the arms out to the side is probably not going to cause necessarily too many issues. So just see how it feels to settle down with your arms at shoulder height, the knees bent, and just how does this feel in your shoulders? And letting the arms rest on the floor for perhaps 2 or 3 cycles of breath. Just trying to let the arms feel heavy, noticing how it feels across the front of your chest and into your upper back. So once more, let a breath come in, let a breath leave. And then from here, I want you to take your arms up a little bit. So not all the way. If you imagined you were going to take your arms up by the sides of your head, I want you to go halfway. So sort of halfway between the arms at the shoulders and the arms by the side of your head, sort of a halfway position. And this should, again, be reasonably comfortable. Is there a place you can settle the arms down? It might be a little bit more challenging in the shoulders. You might feel a little bit more going on in the upper back. And just settle here again for 2 or 3 cycles of breath. As much as possible, we're just giving the weight of the arms to the floor. And we're letting the breath come in and the breath leave. And then what I'd like you to do from here, and it may be this as far as you can go comfortably, what I'd like you to do from here is just see now, what's it like if you bring your arms a bit nearer to your head, but you still want to be able to rest your elbows on the floor. And you just still want to be able to rest the arms down. So that's nice. So just go to a place where the arms can still rest down, and we'll have a few cycles of breath here. So letting the breath come in, letting the breath leave. And just using the weight of the arms here to help open us up across the front of the chest and through the upper back as well. So have one more cycle of breath, letting the breath come in, letting the breath leave. And then from here, you're going to bring your palms onto your eyes. You might want to rub your hands together a bit if they're feeling cold. And then bring your palms over your eyes. And we've got this beautiful sunny day. It seems to be the only sunny day for the moment. We've got this beautiful sunny day, but just briefly we'll block out the sunshine. Palms over the eyes. And you can let your head roll a little bit to the right and to the left. We're just thinking about giving our eyes this little bit of a rest in the darkness. That's it. And letting the head roll very lazily to the right and to the left. And then from there, you might like to just bring your arms to rest on the floor beside you, or bring your hands onto your belly. And then I'd like you to start tilting your knees to the right and to the left. Good. And just seeing how this feels in your body, keeping it sort of easy. A couple more times to the right and to the left. And then pausing in the center, and you're going to cross your arms over your chest. And then you're going to make the rocking. So obviously now your elbows and your head and your knees can all go in the same direction. So the whole of your body, that's it. The whole of your body rolling over towards the right and then over towards the left. Yes, and rather than sort of roll onto your fingers, you can trail your fingers out on the side away from your body. And just find a movement that feels enjoyable, that's maybe giving your back a bit of a massage. And as you roll from side to side, just notice if there's one side that it feels easier to roll to, you feel more drawn to rolling onto that side. Because in a moment, we're going to stay on our side. And this, you may at this point want your cushion under your head, or at some point you might want it somewhere else. So under your head, roll onto your side, knees bent, release your arms, your arms outstretched on the floor in front of you. Good. Then you've got a cushion under the side of your head if you so wish. I'm just going to put that up there for the moment, Siobhan. And bend your knees at a right angle to your body. So you're settling yourself down on your side. Your knees are bent at a right angle to your body. Your arms are on the floor in front of you, outstretched. And we're going to come into movement here. But we're going to do one where we bring up over our shoulder and towards the floor behind us. Okay? That's good. So we're bringing our arm up. So, oh, hi, May. Very nice to see you. May, we're starting on our sides with a cushion under your head if you like. Well, we've been on our backs, but we're on this one on our side where we're coming into sort of a twist with the upper body, but lifting the top arm. So settle yourself on your side. Good. And it's up to you with this one, whether you want to move in and out of it. So it depends how your top shoulder is feeling, you know, how the upper back is feeling. Yes, exactly. So it's a very good point, Siobhan. You can follow your hands with your eyes as it goes back behind you. You're taking your arm up and over, and your knee lift. And then your top knee needs a twist. So it might be if you think, okay, I'm going to stay in the twist now. If you had a cushion under your head, you could put it between your knees. That's another option. And again, I probably said this before, you need to move to this twist, or you can, and if you're staying there, so that's settling our weight onto the ground. And when on this side, you're going to roll onto your, you could do that with your arms outstretched and just sort of roll onto your back if you like. Just arrive on your back. You can do whatever you like there. I was suggesting perhaps folding your knees into your chest and maybe even taking your legs up to the ceiling, giving them a little shake out. That's it, good. Good. And then just perhaps a quiet breath or two before you make your way onto the other side. So make your way onto the other side when you're ready. Settle yourself down with your knees bent at a right angle. Just you like that. Slightly move that candle away from your toes, Siobhan. Health and safety. That's it. So you've got your arms outstretched on the floor in front of you. Let the bottom arm be nice and relaxed. You've got your knees bent at a right angle to your body. You're going to start that same movement on this side of taking your top arm up towards the ceiling over your shoulder and towards the floor behind you. And you don't necessarily have to go all the way to start with. Siobhan made a really good point that you can follow your hand with your eyes. And that helps the movement be smoother. Good. And so again, you can move in and out of this movement, particularly if you're not going all the way to the floor, or if your arm does come all the way to the floor, you can stay there. You can help your arm come all the way towards the floor behind you by letting your top knee lift. By the cushion Good. And so it's really up to you while we just have another few breaths on this side, whether you're moving or you're staying in the twist. You're just really seeing how does that shoulder feel, top shoulder feel, how does this feel in between, in the spine, in the upper back, the spine between the shoulder blades. And settling on the floor, letting the breath come in, letting the breath leave. Good. So you have another breath or two there, and then again, make your way onto your back. Now, this time when you come onto your back, you're going to need your cushion, even if you haven't used it already. And what you're going to do is if you stand your feet on the floor, you're going to lift your pelvis a little bit like you would for bridge pose and put your cushion under your pelvis. That's it. So yeah, so come in with your knees bent, feet standing on the floor, lift the pelvis a bit, slide your cushion under your pelvis, and then fold your knees into your chest. So we're basically just we're going to take our legs up to the ceiling, and we're just making it a bit easier for ourselves by having this cushion under our pelvis, because we're going to do something slightly different with the legs. That's it. So when you've folded your knees into your chest, then take your legs up towards the ceiling, give them a shake out. And then you're going to come to alternating between taking your legs wide and scissoring your legs with them up in the air. And just, unless you've got a really puffy cushion, which makes you feel a bit unstable, scissoring them scissoring them like crossing, wide and then crossing them. That's it. Good. And if you like, it's really up to you. So at any point you can fold the knees back in towards your chest. But if it's comfortable enough for you, take your legs wide. Sorry, my AirPods are falling out. Take your legs wide and see if you can support your legs and just stay with your legs wide. So maybe your elbows can come onto the ground and your hands can support the sides of your legs. Your legs are wide. You might be comfortable not supporting your legs, but that's it. Yeah, that's nice, Maine. You can have your knees bent and your legs wide. Good. And then from there, you can fold your knees into your chest. Just have a couple of breaths, either with the knees sort of close together or with the knees wider apart with the cushion under your pelvis. So it's quite nice for lengthening out the lower back. Good. And then from here, to remove the cushion, bring your feet down onto the floor, so back into sort of bridge pose type position, then slide the cushion out from underneath. And then just see how it feels when you place your pelvis back onto the floor without the cushion. It can feel quite nice and long in the lower back. And we're going to come over in a moment. You're going to roll onto your side, and we're going to be coming into dog pose. We're going to be doing a few different dogs now. So yeah, in your own time, onto your side. A couple of breaths onto hands and knees. And just, when you're ready, coming into dog pose. And just seeing how that first dog pose of the day, unless you've been already doing some yoga. Yeah, so how does that first dog pose of the day feel? And that's very nice. If it feels creaky, you might want to make it 2 short dogs. Yeah, so you've got that option. So come into the dog pose and just, how does it feel? Is it possible to settle a bit there? And of course, all these things we do, bending one knee, bending the other. If you feel that you want to come down and do another sort of shortish dog pose, that's absolutely fine. Yes, May, or something else altogether, like a cat or tail wagging. So just a sense of how your body feels today in dog pose. And obviously those of you, I think, May, you missed that bit. Those of you here right at the beginning, when we were taking our arms up by the sides of our head, we've already done that sort of movement Yes, this is the same movement for the arms in dog pose. Obviously, they're bearing some weight now. Good. So when you've, yeah, that's it. When you've done a couple of dog poses or one longish dog pose, then let yourself settle into child pose for a few breaths. And so when we come to settle into child, maybe this is when we truly arrive this way round on the floor. So we settle the forehead on the ground, the elbows on the ground, the sort of the shins, isn't it? The fronts of the lower legs, the tops of the feet. And feel the breath come in, feel the breath leave. We're going to be coming into another dog pose when you're ready. There's no rush. You can have a few more breaths in child pose. In this dog pose, we're going to do a little bit of playing around, rolling onto the tops of our feet. And we're also going to walk from dog pose into a forward bend and then back into dog. But the first thing is this one where we, just one at a time, obviously not both feet together. Even the thought of that isn't very pleasant. So one coming into your dog pose, when you're ready, and then this sort of 1 foot at a time. How does it feel to roll? Perhaps really come onto the ball of your foot and then roll through the tips of your toes onto the top of your toes and seeing how that feels. Good, good. Very nice. And when you've done that sort of 2 or 3 times on each side, then just have a couple of breaths in dog pose. It might be that you bend both knees a lot and come right up onto the balls of both feet. Bend your knees a lot, send your pelvis back and up. That's it. Good, good. Have a couple of breaths. So, and then from this dog pose, you're going to be walking your hands in towards your feet, and you're going to see how it feels to come into a forward bend. So all of the weight coming into the feet. And at this point, if your lower back feels it needs support, you can bend your knees, rest your elbows on your thighs. See if you can let your head go. Notice how the backs of your legs feel. And obviously, yeah, just let the arms rest for a moment from dog. And then from your forward bend, you're going to be walking your hands back into dog pose. And just trying to sort of choose a length of dog pose that feels good. So walking your hands forwards. Where is it you want to stop in terms of walking your hands forwards? Where is it you want to have a few breaths in your dog? Good. And whenever you're ready from dog, you're going to come down, bring your knees down onto the floor. You're just going to sit in kneeling for a moment and give your hands a shake out and bring the backs of your hands together. And I just want to show you the next little thing we're going to do in dog, which I may have done with you or not. I've done with some classes. So you're going to come back into dog. And then in this dog, you're going to cross one leg around the back or around the front. It doesn't really matter, just so you cross your legs. And then you're going to be walking into your forward bend with your legs crossed. And then you'll uncross your legs, you'll walk back into dog pose, or you don't get into squat, you walk back into dog pose. And then you'll try to remember which leg you crossed and do the same thing on the other side. So it might be good if I say cross, and I'm just thinking whether you cross. It also might be that as you walk your hands in, you don't come all the way into a forward bend. It might just be you go part way. So I tend to cross my leg around the back. So that's maybe how, when you do this, let's maybe have the front foot as being the right foot the first time. And then it is a bit confusing. Yeah, so then you don't get too confused. So come back into a dog pose. and just settle yourself in dog. And then if I'm going to cross my left leg around the back of my right leg, I tend to bring my right leg a bit more to the center and then cross the left leg around the back. And your feet can come to being level. They don't have to be. And you might even want to walk your right foot a bit more into the center. And then just see what's it like if you start to walk your hands in towards your feet. And you may or may not come all the way into a forward bend. So it may be that you're in a sort of littler dog. If you come into the forward bend, can your weight be completely in your heels? That's switchable, and let the toes lengthen out and relax. And then when you've had a couple of breaths there, you can uncross your legs and just come into a normal forward bend. That's it, good. Good, let your head go, release forwards in that normal forward bend, that's it. And then walk back into your dog pose. And just have a couple of breaths in this normal dog pose before we cross the legs on the other side. And so this time you're going to maybe start by stepping your left foot more towards the center and then crossing your right leg around the back of your left leg. Again, just organizing your feet. They don't necessarily have to be side to side. They can be. You can have a bit of a space between your feet. And then what's it like to start walking your hands in towards your feet? And you may still be in a sort of part dog pose where you may be able to bring your hands completely off the floor and all of the weight into your feet with your feet crossed. Yes. Can you settle into the ankle, the heels, and let the toes relax? And it may be that you still have some weight in your hands, which is fine. When you've had a few breaths there, then uncross your legs and just let yourself come into a normal, yes, take the back leg around. Come into a normal forward bend. Sink into your heels. Bend your knees as much as you like. Let your head and your arms tumble forward. Good. And then you're going to walk your hands forwards again. Back into dog pose. And when you come into this dog pose, you could then just come into your one-legged dog pose before we come down into child pose. So I was doing the opposite. So lengthening one leg up, yes. And if you roll your pelvis here and stretch into your heel. So we're sort of doing the opposite here. We're bringing space between the legs rather than bringing the legs closer together. Very nice. Good. Let your head go. And you can do this on both sides. Lovely. Really lovely. And then whenever you're ready, yes, you're going to settle down in child pose. And rest. Let your body settle on the ground. Let your breathe. You're right there, Jan. Oh, okay. Okay. Well, sit in kneeling then. If just let yourself settle in kneeling. So, okay. Yeah. Yeah. So if kneeling's better for you, you can settle in kneeling. Let the shoulders soften. Rest the backs of the hands on the thighs. And just letting your attention settle with your breathing. We'll have 3 more cycles of breath, either in kneeling or in child pose. So feeling the inhalation expanding within you. And then letting the out breath go and ebb away. Taking your time, we're going to be making our way into standing. So you could just come up into standing. I'm saying this because you might want to do another dog pose, forward, then come up. You might not. So I'm just really leaving this up to you. We've done quite a lot of dog, but if you feel compelled, yes, very nice, to do some more dog, you can do. Or you can just make your way into standing. Good. And however you arrive in standing, we're going to start just with this sort of loose, easy swinging twist. So swinging the arms from side to side, we can slap them onto the body if we like. Good. Okay, yeah, this sort of gentle but easy feeling of the whole of us in movement. Noticing how it feels. How do the shoulders feel? They're feeling a bit creaky today. How do the legs feel now we're in standing, particularly the knees? Good. Okay, a couple more times. And we're going to, I suppose, explore some of the movements we've been doing with the legs. So start with maybe just a little bit of looking at your feet settling down. So we've been exploring these movements of the legs being wide and crossing. And what I'd like you to do in standing is just this sort of swinging one leg, and you can keep your toes on the floor. I might just adjust my screen. So sort of swinging one leg in front of the other, sort of just crossing the leg over. And you also don't want to do, if you do a huge movement, you are going to feel a bit wobbly. And I think it's always interesting when we're focusing not on the balancing leg. Sometimes it's actually easier to balance. Yeah, good. And just do this on both sides while I adjust my screen slightly. Yeah, so this sort of swinging or drawing a circle, your toes could be on the floor. And what we're really thinking about, yes, there's the leg going out to the side, but we're thinking more now about the leg crossing the other leg. Because in a moment, we're going to bring this into a very sort of simple, quiet little, what do we call it, eagle, eagle legs balance. So come back to your first side, cross your leg over, let your standing knee bend a little bit, and then bring your hands into prayer pose. So just this sort of, hopefully quite easy, quiet, little eagle legs balance. We've got one leg crossed over the other leg, and our standing knee is bent, which always adds an extra challenge. Can we feel still upright in our body? Can we let the breath come in? Let the breath leave, let the shoulders soften. Good. Lovely. And then when you're ready, come out. Little shake out, arms and legs. So we're just really seeing in this first little thing about how does it feel to balance today? How does it feel to have this sort of little quiet moment? So when you're ready, bringing your leg, you can start a couple of times with that movement we were doing of crossing the other leg over. And then it stays crossed. You could have your big toe on the floor at the moment. We bend the standing knee. If we can, then we let the top leg, the top foot come off the floor. So we're coming into a balance, bring our hands into prayer pose. But of course, if you start to feel wobbly, your big toe of your top leg can always come onto the floor. That's it. Can we let the shoulders drop? Can we feel the breath come in, the breath leave? Good. Obviously, when we're balancing with the bent knee, we probably can't stay here for so long. It's a bit more, asks a bit more of our muscles in the ankle and the hip joints. So we can, yes, come out, have a little shake out. And then let's settle down in standing. So just bringing the feet a little distance apart. I want you to have enough room that you can swing your arms out to the side, crossing them in front of you. And then from having done our eagle legs, we're now going to give ourselves a hug with the right arm on top and come on into our eagle arms. So again, if you put your right arm on top, it means you don't have to think about it. A bit like with crossing our legs in dog. So from here, we can move on into our eagle arms. And then we'll take this into a forward bend. So if you step your feet a bit wider apart, so maybe the width of the narrow edge of your mat, particularly if you're facing the narrow edge of your mat, good. Sink into your heels, exhale, see how it feels to fold forwards here. So keep rooted in your heels, bend your knees as much as you like. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave. And whenever you want to release your arms, you can do. You don't need to worry about which arm is on top. This should have been the right one. So it's quite nice too, from having had a few breaths with the arms crisscrossed and eagle arms, to then release the arms. You might even like to bend your knees, rest your elbows on your thighs, or just release the arms to the floor. Another breath or two in this forward bend, and then sinking into your heels, rolling up into standing. Perhaps having a little shake out and bringing your feet back to a smaller distance apart. So back to Tadasana. Back to bringing your hands into prayer pose for a moment. Maybe just have a little moment before we swing our arms and we do eagle arms on the other side. Just a little moment, closing the eyes, feeling the contact of the feet on the floor, feeling the contact of the hands, connecting with the flow of your breath. Letting the shoulders drop. And then opening your eyes, letting a breath come in. As you exhale, take your arms down and then up. And then again, swinging your arms, crossing your arms in front of you. So there's this feeling of the arms being loose, as much as we can, sort of loose, hanging from the shoulders. And then when you're ready, swinging your arms to give yourself a hug with your left arm on top. You can have a couple of breaths here. Let your shoulders drop down away from your ears, feeling wide across your upper back. And then on into your eagle arms. Still that feeling of the shoulders dropping down, feeling wide across the tops of the shoulders. And then stepping the feet wider apart. Whenever you're ready, sinking into your heels, exhaling, folding into your forward bend. Letting the head go. So rooting down into your heels, letting the toes lengthen and relax. And whenever you want to, releasing your arms. Good, yeah. Some of you sort of swinging your arms a little bit, if you like, from side to side in your forward bend, whatever you want to do. Good. And in your own time, breathing in, exhaling, sinking into your heels, coming back up into standing. Now, I was going to say this time, keep your feet this width apart, but I'd like you to be facing the long edge of your mat. So actually, let's just give our legs a shake out, because most of you aren't facing the long edge of your mat, although Francis, you were. And then turn so you are facing the long edge of your mat, and take your feet this sort of distance apart. We're going to come into something we did last week, but in a slightly different way. So what I just want you to be aware of now is how your pelvis is facing forwards. What we're going to start to do is turn our front foot. So it's turning so it's parallel with the long edges of the mat. And if we've done that, we might also want to turn our back foot in a little bit as well. So I just want you to make sure your knees are comfortable. But we're going to be coming into our balance on this the leg that we've turned out to the side to be parallel with the edges of the mat. So that's it, just arranging your feet a little bit so both knees are comfortable. We're going to bend this front knee and bring our arms up to shoulder height. Just have this sense of the pelvis facing forwards. So that's it. So we've got our pelvis facing forwards. We've got our arms facing forwards as well. We're going to be coming into our half moon pose from here. If you remember, we did this last week. So from here, we started shifting our weight. Siobhan, you weren't here. So we started shifting our weight into our front foot and just staying very wide, like this big sail through the front of our arms, and just tipping forward. So maybe we come to a moment of balance and then we try again. So that's it. So Siobhan, at that point, so front knees bent. We're just trying to keep very sort of wide to the front. And partly why I wanted us, and try a couple of times. Why I wanted us to do this again is I think it's an unfamiliar way of coming into this pose, but the more we do it, the more it starts to feel like anything familiar. And so I think, Jan, you might have said to me, it's a bit like partly going into a cartwheel, but stopping and going very slowly. So we've got that bent front knee. We start to transfer our weight. We just want to stay really wide through the whole of our body, across the arms. How does it feel? Well, that's an interesting point, isn't it? Yes, that we're trying to do that sort of widening out and then going. Good, then going towards the balance. Well done. Well done. Yeah, that's it. And you can let your bottom hand fingers come onto the ground, because there is a point where if you let your bottom fingers come onto the ground, it does give you a little bit more stability. Let's just come into a normal forward bend before we try the other side. So yeah, so just a little bit of breathing. Your feet can be any distance apart you like. Yes, and just coming forward. I think I was aware that we did this, not everyone was here last week, and I've certainly been doing this balance this is a slightly different way into it. But I've been doing this since the summer and it's become very familiar. And yeah, little by little things become more familiar. So yeah, so let's just, when we come back up, when you've had enough in your forward bend, come back to a sort of wider distance between your feet. And you're going to turn the other foot to start with all the way out to the side. So your foot is lined up with the long edge of your mat. And then at this point, it's like, well, what do you want to do with your other foot? And actually, at this point, I sometimes step that foot slightly further forwards as well to feel really steady. And that foot's turned in a bit, but perhaps not as far in. And we're bending the front knee. And we want to have this feeling at this point that the pelvis is facing forwards. And then we take the arms up to shoulder height. And as Jan said, what's really with this pose, we've sort of in our half moon position already. And then what we're just trying to do is start to keep this sort of wide, expansive shape, this moonlight shape as we tilt forwards over that front foot. And yes, if there's a possibility of your middle finger touching the floor, then that does help for a moment with the balance. But very nice, good. Good, and you can come up, you can try again. Obviously, one of the tricks or the important thing is maybe remembering to breathe. We're sort of trying to control we're trying to stay very wide, and then we're sort of controlling our descent to the ground. And all the time, just perhaps have this sense of yourself. I've been saying like this big open sail, but maybe it is just like this sense of being like a full moon in the front of your body. Good. That's half moon pose. Very nice. Lovely. Revelation. Good. It feels quite light, doesn't it? I mean, that's what I quite like about it. I always think the fact that it's sort of light and it's silvery like the moon. Yes, very nice. Good. If you want to try that once more on that side, you can do. Otherwise, very lovely. So, yeah. Maybe let your bottom arm, Siobhan, be a bit looser. So as you start to go forwards, that bottom arm can start to hang down more. That's it. Sorry, you've got eyes on you. Yeah. And also I really feel that yes, it's sort of familiarity with this approach. Now, yeah, so yeah, we'll come back to it. We'll come back to it. Now, I've got a little sequence. We're going to be doing this forward bend and going wider. I might just quickly run you through it because so we're going to go forwards with our feet a little distance apart, and then we'll walk them out a bit. and then we'll walk them out a bit. The bit I want to show you is when you're in the wide forward bend. So we're going to be doing a bit of going from side to side in all of the forward bends. But when you come into the wide forward bend, you can also try bending your knee. So you've walked over to the side, you try bending your knee, and you can get the AirPod. Maybe I'll go to the other side. So you've walked to one side. You'll then see, if your knee's happy, bending the knee and then turning towards that bent knee. So this is just a possibility if that works for you. Sometimes my knees don't like bending when my legs are wide. So if that's the case for you, then just, respect that. So start with your feet. We're going to be in the middle of your mat, facing the long edge of your mat. We're going to go forwards with our feet a small distance apart, Tadasana distance apart, and then we'll gradually take the feet wider. So in this first forward bend, we're going to do the weeping willow movement. So you're going to go forwards with your feet a little distance apart and then sweep your arms from side to side. Good. That's very nice. And of course, if you want to do a bit of just folding forwards in the center without sweeping your arms, you can do. And that might be quite good, just a breath or two in the center. Because from there, you're then going to walk your feet a little bit wider apart. So this is like your feet being the width of the narrow edge of your mat. So feet a little bit wider apart. And what you could do here is a bit of just walking your hands, or sort of swinging your arms from side to side, from foot to foot, but maybe not with so much bending of the knees, because quite often we'll bend our knees to shift our weight here. But this time I just want you to perhaps take your hands to one foot and then the other, and just see what's possible. Good. And of course, bending your knees if that works better. You don't feel that you have to keep your knees rigidly straight. And then from here, if you like, you can take your feet a bit wider. And I think this is where we always make the judgments. And we might think, okay, actually, I've got a bit too wide. I can come narrower again if I like, or I need to go a bit wider. And what I'd like you to do then is this sort of, what's it like to walk the hands towards one foot and towards the other? And this is first of all without bending the knees. So it's quite a side bendy movement. If you're walking your hands towards one foot without bending your knees, you're lengthening through the sides of your body. You might need to bend both knees because the backs of your legs are tight, and that's fine. But try to walk from side to side with both legs doing the same thing. And then if you like, you can try the variation I was doing. So I'd walked my hands over to one foot, and then I was bending that knee quite a lot. And I was coming into a twist. So I was keeping the opposite hand to that foot on the floor and then turning towards that leg. AirPod again. Turning towards the leg, that's it. And then reaching the arm up towards the ceiling. Oh, that's good, yeah. And just see, but just again, be aware, be respectful if your knee doesn't like that. You can come back to the center. You can try the same thing on the other side. So of course, first of all, walk your hands towards your foot. What's it like to bend your knee? Check the knee is happy with it. Let your head go maybe at that point. Yes, and then what's it like to turn towards that bent knee, take your arm up. And yes, that's it, that's it. And at some point you might think, no, I really don't like this, then that's enough. And then you could just finish by coming down, coming into your wide forward bend. And just, yes, if you want to do this on each side again, you can do. Otherwise, just coming and being quiet in your forward bend. Good. And May, if you've had enough of that, we're going to be lying down next. So, yes, you're very welcome. So whenever, yes, you're very welcome to come and lie down. And it's not time to go to sleep. We're going to do some things lying down, but you can, I think in my book it says settle. So just come, yeah. So when you're ready, when you've had enough rest, settle. So lie down onto your back and yeah, make sure you're warm enough. Settle down with your breathing, and any things that you feel drawn to doing when you're lying down, within reason. Little quiet things. Yes, arms and legs up to the ceiling, Francis, is always a good idea. Just have another minute or so of either lying quietly or doing some simple little movements that you feel drawn to doing, and then I'll talk you through another sequence of movements, and we'll do some breathing as well. So when you're ready, you're going to organize yourself so you're lying with your knees bent and your feet standing on the floor. You may already be like that, so you don't need to do anything. Good. Then let your arms settle on the floor beside you and come to letting your knees tilt to the right and to the left. And to see if you can find a sort of easy, comfortable, enjoyable rhythm. And feel how the weight shifts side to side across the back of your pelvis. And just then settle in the center, stop tilting your knees. And you're then going to come to tilting your pelvis on the floor. So tipping your pelvis towards your face and tipping your pelvis away from your face. That's it. So if you tip your pelvis towards your face, your lower back flattens out. And if you tip your pelvis away from your face, your lower back arches from the floor a little bit more. And I think we're all quite familiar with this sort of pair of movements. And just do that a few more times. And then from the movement where you're tipping your pelvis towards your face, and so the bottom of the pelvis starts to come off the ground, you can just very sort of easily take that on into bridge pose. So just in your own time, roll up and down into bridge pose 3 times. And just trying to see how planted you feel through your footprint. You might want to, adjust where your feet are on the floor. Because in bridge pose, that, all the action, all the movement. Good. That's it. Comes from the legs and the feet. So yes, so in your own time, 3 bridge poses. And then just letting your pelvis settle back on the floor. You could perhaps when you've done that, fold your knees into your chest for a moment, just so I know that you've finished. And then we're going to do what I think is a sort of paired movement with bridge pose. We're going to do that on its own 3 times. And then we're going to put bridge pose and this next movement together. So if you bring your feet back onto the floor, this is where we come to a little bit of workout for abdominals. You're going to exactly Siobhan. You're going to bring your hands around the back of your head and interlink your fingers. So feet standing on the floor, hands around the back of your head, interlinking your fingers. As you exhale, you're going to be lifting your head and looking between your legs. And if you can tilt your pelvis towards your face, that would be really good. Hello, Sarah. Okay. Good. And do this 3 times. So you're lifting up your head as you exhale. You're feeling your abdominals engage, and you're also feeling the middle of your back pressing down onto the floor. And you're perhaps tilting your pelvis towards your head. Okay. When you've done that 3 times, just have a little breather. And then what you're going to do is alternate 3 times between bridge pose and that little mini sit-up. So yeah, sit in your own time. Bridge pose, little mini sit-up, and then back into bridge pose. And what I'd like you to do is finish, do the 3. It might mean you do 4 bridge poses. Finish with bridge pose. And so each time you come into bridge pose in between these little mini sit-ups, then maybe, hello Sarah, maybe you can go a little bit more into bridge pose. Hi Sarah. Hello, I hope you can hear me better. I can't hear you, but
I can certainly, good morning, Kara. I can hear you as you're there.
You can hear me better with the AirPods. Okay, for some reason I can't hear anyone today, and I'm not quite sure why that is, but anyway, it's the other way round.
Yeah.
Anyway, you're here for the last 5 minutes, so did you realise that?
Oh my God.
Yes. Don't worry. Join us for the last 5 minutes, and then I'll send you the link as soon as it's up on YouTube, okay? So we're doing one more. We're lying down, and yeah, we're going to do one more. If you haven't folded your knees into your chest, so Sarah, yeah, lie down onto your back, fold your knees into your chest. We've got one more delightful little abdominally thing to do. So fold the knees into the chest, have a little rock from side to side. You can take the arms and legs up towards the ceiling, give them a bit of a lengthen out. That's nice. And then we're going to do one more little thing, which is giving us a bit of a workout through the abdominals. You'll be thrilled to hear. So you're going to come back to the same position with your hands around the back of your head, interlinking your fingers. Okay, so hands around the back of the head, interlink the fingers, bend both knees, stand both feet on the floor. We're going to be bringing one knee towards, we're going to be turning in this one. So you're going to be lifting your head and bringing your right elbow towards your left knee and bring your left knee towards your right elbow. Okay? And we're going to repeat that 6 times. So as you exhale, lift and turn. So your right elbow is coming towards your left knee. You don't need to touch them. It's just a direction. And come back down as you breathe in. Exhale, right elbow towards the left knee. So just repeat that 3 more times on that first side. Good. As you exhale, come into the movement. As you breathe in, come back down. Good. This might be the last time. I struggle to keep count after 3. So then just have a couple of quiet breaths, and then we'll do the same thing on the other side. So maybe release your arms for a moment. So in a moment, it will be 6 times, left elbow towards right knee. So we're crossing over the middle of our body. It's a little bit of a twist. It's a little bit of work into the abdominals. So when you're ready, interlinking your fingers around the back of your head, lifting your head up. And each time, bring your foot back to the floor. So bring your left elbow towards your right knee. And then the head comes back down to the floor, as does the foot. Okay. So you lift Your right foot off the floor, your right knee comes towards your left elbow. Your left elbow comes towards your right knee as you exhale. And it's just me, but I'm always surprised how much I feel going on in this movement, sort of abdominals, ribs, sides of the body. So when you've done that 6 times, just, let it go. Let yourself settle down. Have a couple of quiet breaths. Now, in a moment, we're going to finish with a little bit of breathing, some kumbhaka breathing, which I will talk you into. And you've got the choice now of whether you want to carry on lying or whether you'd prefer to sit. And if you're lying down, if you want to be warmer, you're going to sit, Jan. Yes. So if you want to be warmer, put a blanket on you. If you feel that you want to move into sitting, because we've been lying down for a while, then you can move into sitting. And when I was experimenting with this yesterday, I was thinking, oh, maybe we'll do part of it lying down and part of it in sitting. But I think it's better, you know, having had that thought, I then thought maybe it's just better to be in one place because we're not going to be doing this breathing for that long. So if you're sitting, you have your back, if you don't have to, you can be in the room, but you could have your back against the wall or a chair or a sofa or a bed. That's it. So in kumbhaka breathing, we don't even add in, we just start to notice the pause at the end of our in-breath. So we breathe in, we pause our breath for a moment, and then we exhale. And we just want to keep it very, very quiet and not at all pressured. So that pause, and I think, Sarah, particularly for you with the eye, you just briefly, okay, very briefly pause, and then you exhale. You focus more on the out breath. So before we start the kumbhaka breathing, I'd just like us to gather our attention into our breathing for 2 or 3 cycles of breath in, you know, whether we're sitting or lying. So your hands, if you're lying, could be on your belly. And if you're sitting, perhaps your hands on your thighs, either palms up or palms down. So just bringing your attention to rest with the feeling of the flow of your breath through your body, wherever you feel that most clearly. And we'll start our little breathing practice by just having a long out breath. So let your breath come in and then exhaling with a long exhalation. So just feeling that you can empty out completely. And then you're going to let your breath come in. And at the end of that in-breath, just pause for a moment before you let your out-breath leave. It can be very brief. And then again, another really long, lovely out-breath, that feeling of emptying completely. And then letting your breath come in. And then just resting for a moment at the end of your in-breath before you let your out-breath leave. And another lovely long exhalation. So we're going to work with this for 4 more cycles of breath. So receiving the in-breath, a pause, and that pause can be little or longer. Sarah, it stays very small for you. And then the out-breath is long for everybody, a long exhalation where we feel that we're not forcing the breath out, we just give ourselves time to empty out completely. Receiving the inhalation. Noticing that quiet pause at the end of the in-breath and then letting the out-breath go. So we just got 1 or 2 more cycles of breath left to bring you to 6. So whatever you feel comfortable with, 1 or 2 more cycles of this breath. receiving the in-breath, pausing, letting the out-breath leave. And then returning to your natural breath. So just letting go of any feeling of controlling your breath. Just feeling the flow of your breath through your body. If you're sitting, just see if you can let your shoulders settle and drop. In a moment, I'm going to ring the singing bowl 6 times. No, 3 times, sorry. So if you're sitting, you might like to fold forwards a little bit. Or even lie down. And thank you, everyone. Thank you. And Sarah, as soon as I've uploaded the class, I'll send you the link, okay? So, but is it better? Is the sound better? So.
Can you hear me?
I can't hear you. I don't know what is going on with...
I can hear her.
Yeah, I can't hear anyone today, which is a bit bizarre. I don't know if that's because of the AirPods. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Thank you.
So the sound is still a bit intermittent then. Yeah. Okay. May's saying it was good. Okay. Well, Sarah, let's see what you think when you do a whole class, and it might be easier to judge. Okay. All right. Bye-bye. Bye.